Hi, I am Gautam and today I'll be talking about Gabor filters. My classmate has already covered the practical applications, so I'm going to be focusing on something very interesting, the connection between Gabor filters and how our brains actually see the world around us. In 1996, researchers trained neural networks on natural images without any knowledge of biology built into it. The network spontaneously developed filters that looked exactly like the Gabor filters. What's remarkable is that these patterns were discovered in the human visual cortex back in 1962. Evolution, math, and machine learning all converged to the same solution independently. Let's explore why Gabor filters work so well. The answer lies in how nature solved vision over millions of years. Gabor filters combine a Gaussian blur with a sine wave pattern. This makes them detect edges and textures that have a specific orientation and a specific frequency. Think of them as edge detectors that only respond to patterns going in one direction and of specific granularity, either coarse or fine. Here's the amazing part. In 1962, scientists Hubel and Wiesel discovered that neurons in our visual cortex respond to specific edge orientations. A neuron tuned to vertical edges won't fire for horizontal ones. Gabor filters mathematically describe exactly what these brain cells do. Evolution spent millions of years optimizing vision, and Gabor filters capture that solution. Gabor filters have four parameters: orientation, which tells you which direction to detect, 0 degrees for vertical, 90 for horizontal, and anything in between. 45 is to the northeast, and 135 is to the northwest. Wavelength controls what frequency you're looking for. Small values detect fine details like fabric threads. Large values detect coarse patterns like bricks. Typically, we use multiple filters together, 4 to 8 orientations at 3 to 5 scales, and this is what is called a filter bank. Uh, you can't describe a complex feature or a complex texture with just one filter, right? That's why we use filter banks, multiple Gabor filters at different orientations, at different scales, working together. Your brain does the same thing. It uses millions of orientation selective neurons. Each texture creates a unique response pattern across the bank, like a fingerprint. Brick walls respond strongly to both vertical and horizontal filters. Wood grain only responds to one orientation. This multi filter approach gives you a complete texture description. Back in 1996, uh, Olshausen and Field trained a neural network on natural images with no biological knowledge built into it. Right? The network learned filters that looked somehow happened to look exactly like Gabor filters, which also matched what Hubel and Wiesel earlier found in cat brains. Three completely independent research areas, three completely independent fields: evolution, mathematics, and machine learning all converged to the same exact solution. This tells us Gabor filters aren't just arbitrary, they are the optimal way to analyze natural images. Here's an example with a brick wall. When we have Gabor filters at different orientations, in our case 0, 45, 90, and 135, each one responds to edges in each direction and ignores the rest. The 0 degree filter highlights vertical mortar lines. As you can see, the vertical lines are very clear in the first image. The 90-degree filter highlights horizontal lines. And this is exactly what we see in the third image. But as you see in the second and the fourth image, where the orientation angle theta is 45 and 135, and as we can see, there are not very strong lines in the image in the 45 northeast or 135 northwest direction, and hence the response is not as strong in these two images. This is exactly what is happening, exactly what different neurons in your visual cortex would detect. So fast forward to modern deep learning. When you train networks like AlexNet or ResNet on ImageNet, the first layer somehow automatically learns Gabor-like filters. Nobody programmed this, okay? The network discovered it through gradient descent. This keeps happening because Gabor filters are mathematically optimal for natural image statistics. Evolution found this through natural selection. Neural networks find it through backpropagation and gradient descent. And the mathematical field proves it through mathematical analysis. Three paths to the very same answer. Interesting, isn't that? Okay, now let's talk applications. Fingerprint recognition uses Gabor filters because rich patterns are orient textures. So this creates a signature, a specific features that uniquely identify each fingerprint. Face recognition uses them for analyzing features at different scales. In our second assignment, some of us used loss filters some of us implemented that for the extension, correct? So those are actually just simplified versions of the Gabor filters. They help distinguish brick from stone or brick from concrete based on the texture patterns. Medical imaging uses them for blood vessel detection and tumor analysis. The uses of Gabor filters are widespread and they're very effective in their fields. To wrap up, Gabor filters are basically Gaussian envelopes multiplied by sine waves, creating oriented texture detectors. And they detect textures of varying coarseness or fineness. They work because they match how biological vision evolved. They are mathematically optimal for the natural images that we as humans see on Earth, which is why deep learning keeps rediscovering them. The big lesson here is that the best computer vision solutions often come from understanding biology. Evolution ran the largest experiment, the largest machine learning algorithm ever in vision optimization, and we are only learning from it, or we are rediscovering it. With this, I come to the end of my presentation. Thank you so much for your attention.